you?
I'm good. I'm good. It's just weird. Like, it's weird sort of like not doing my early morning job right now. So I'm feeling a little out of sorts because what I'm doing is the internet show with Mark. And so I'm kind of trying to get myself together.
I'm sure. Now, I know it's so interesting. First of all, let me say this. It is so good to meet you. I know your husband. We've worked together in New York. I've read about you, but I've never had the opportunity to meet you. And so when Kevin from Radio Facts hit me and he was like, hey, I have this great opportunity. And I was like, hell yeah, I'd love to talk to her. Like, are you kidding? Just the whole history of your work and all of the first that you are, and the fact that you were born on my mama's birthday, first of all.
Come on, Aries.
And on top of that, you a Delta. Ooh,
yeah.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am. And so I was.
And let me just say, Jasmine, before we get started, first of all, I don't know about them dogs. How they gonna do?
No, please let them dogs bark.
Okay.
But it is what it is.
I gotta give it back to you because just holding up the culture, that positive empowerment on the national level. Yes, I'm just like all praise to what you do on a daily basis. So
thank you so much. So I know with COVID, obviously there are so many changes that are going on in the industry. And let me tell you this really quickly, because I don't know what Kevin said or how. I know you've done a million interviews. My interviews are so different because I like to talk to people. I don't like to be super formal. I like to act like we're sitting at brunch. We've known each other forever. We're having a conversation. I want to know what's going on in your world. Girl, I need some advice about some certain things, being a woman in this entertainment industry. So I like to keep my conversations very real, very transparent. So, if it's a little weird, just say, hey, girl, hey, and I got you. We good. Yay! So I know that you made a big change, first of all, in your career. And I know that, I guess with the quarantine and with COVID, everything was already so weird and so different, and we were doing everything in such a different manner. How has your life changed now that you've made this big move after almost 2 decades? Like,
almost 21 years. It's wild. I'm a person who, my dad was a New Thought minister. I'm on my affirmations and visualization and all of this. I'm on my leap and the net will appear. But then I'm like, well, what are you doing in your life? You know what I mean? What are you doing in your life? So I felt like I was at a point where I felt confident in sort of, exercising some options. You know what I mean? I'm like, exercising some options, because I think that especially as Black women, we feel like, okay, look, almost like, let me stay on this good government job type of thing. Let me just stick with what I know. But I had an opportunity. I was offered a contract, but I was at that point where I'm like, you know what, I can make a change right now. And I think that doing the radio gig with Mark, first at HUR, and always sharing our lives together, like on Facebook Lives or whatever else. And then we were doing the gig at Howard Station. And I felt like I have options, and not just in radio. That's not what I'm just saying, but just out there. And it was a time for me to be like, jump and net will appear. And I'm looking forward to exercising some of those options down the road. But right now I'm just sort of enjoying what I'm doing. And the whole COVID piece, I think, Jasmine, really made it easier to do that. So it was this blessing, right, in disguise, because I was already working from home since March. And I was getting a little bit of the distance, because when you're going somewhere day to day for, over 20 years, it just becomes, my car probably would drive to the station on its own, because
on its own.
It's
autopilot.
So,
I say kudos to you, first of all, because, it's no secret, at least to me, and I'm sure, a lot of other women out there. One of the most difficult things in this industry, besides being a woman, being a Black woman and in this industry. I think we work so hard to get to a particular level, right? And the industry is not as forgiving to us as it is to men. I mean, men become more distinguished and they become, just very, they become different. Whereas women, like as we get a little bit older, I don't know about you, but I'm always hearing a voice in the back of my head that secretly they're trying to replace me. And so I'm always trying to be on top of my game. I'm trying to look a certain way. I'm trying to make sure I know as much as they do. And so first of all, I bow down to your courage. And let me ask you this. Do you ever think there will come a time when we won't hear that voice in the back of our heads as women in this business?
No, because I think that, I was actually telling Mark the other day, I'm like, well, look, before I do any more TV work, let me go ahead and get the injectables here. Let me go ahead and let me try to, let me try to get that, whatever that cool sculpting is under
Yeah.
Then, but then you're just like, it is what it is, because here's the kicker and here's how they get you. And like what Mark would say, put you in the trick bag. If they don't want you, it doesn't matter what you look like, if you look older than whoever they just hired, it just doesn't matter. And so like finding that value thing in yourself, as long as you're still, doing everything you need to do to be a syndicated radio show or to do what I'm doing, as long as you still have that skill set, it really doesn't matter. I could go get a whole facelift and dye my whole hair the same color it used to be. But if they don't want you,
they don't want you. Well, first of all, don't mess with that beautiful face of yours. Fantastic and gorgeous, and you know it. But I'll say this.
Jade roller. Yes, I'm doing a jade roller.
You're right. I got one too every morning. But it's so funny that you would say that, because I feel as though, especially I like to be as honest with a lot of young women who are coming up in this industry, and they say, oh, you're so lucky, you're this, you're that. And I'm thinking, you don't know that although there is security that you feel as an individual, this business will knock at that and chip away at it every single day. And you're right. If they don't want you, they don't. But I think it takes years to get to that place where you understand, okay, I prepared myself. I went to school. I made sure that I know what I know. I know what goes on behind the scenes. I know what goes on in front of the scenes. I make sure that I'm well prepared for everything. And I make sure that I'm not just, ripping and reading. I know what I'm talking about. And I try to look good every day. And at the end of the day, you still kind of say, I wonder, else. Like I don't know. I mean, you can tell me how you feel about that. And I get it. I think it takes us, my goodness, decades in the business. You even at that point, you still kind of feel like, well, I don't know. Should I jump off? Should I do something else? Or, it's my decision. Maybe I want to make that decision to move now before they make that decision for me.
Right. And I really do think that's what it is, but it's hard and I get it. Look, I get it. I feel like, for whatever it is, my style of communicating, the fact that I've been pretty transparent, the fact that I had all my 3 teenage daughters, like pretty much the second day they were alive, they had the camera crew in the hospital. So I was able to form a bond with the good people of the community that I served. And so I think that it almost became a little harder, a little more controversial, a little more risky for this whole thing to happen. So when I left, it was interesting because even though I gave, a little, I was able to say goodbye on the air, people are kind of like, well, you can tell me, did they push you out? Did they?
Yeah.
Because everyone knows, you've been there for 21 years, you got to be a certain age at this point, right? But the truth of the matter is that, yes, ultimately it was my decision ultimately to do it. And they offered me a contract to stay, but you get that little feeling in your head, like, you know what, if I don't make this move right now, I don't know when I'm going to be able to make this move again. You know what I mean? And
that's such a lucky spot to be in, to be able to say, because I was shocked
Yeah.
I was shocked that they let you say goodbye, because I know they don't do that. They're like, no, ma'am, get your phone, take your water, and leave now. So the fact that you were able to say goodbye was such a blessing. And you're right. I saw all of the articles. Why did she really leave? What's really going on? And I'm like, okay, how come it couldn't be that she decided, I have given so much of me, like you just said, cameras in the hospital, watching the birth of my daughters and following me how come it couldn't be that now I just decided I feel like doing something that I want to do, something that's really just for me, that I build from the ground up. And it might be just sitting on my sofa doing nothing but scratching my head, but that's what I want to do. I mean, that's what I do.
But you know what, Jasmine, I got to be honest, the love and the support, that the good part of that felt really good to me. That the part where it's like, you know, did they do something? Because what happened?
I saw that too. People Vaseline, they were ready. They were like, "That's our girl." I did. I saw
that made me feel good, and you know, and I'm still here, you know. But we'll see what happens down the road as far as that part.
Yes. So on to the next big thing. Listen, let me tell you something. I've always loved Mark. Amazing voice. I know that you guys have worked together, and you know, it's funny. The last time he and I spoke, it's been a while ago. First of all, COVID seems like it's taken over. Like, it seems like it's been here for 10 years, even though I know it.
Yes.
But one of the things that he and I talked about was, you know, you. And I was like, I would love to meet your wife. I've never had the opportunity to meet her. And now you guys are going to be working together. You get to do the kind of show that what is that going to look like? And second, I don't know that I could ever, first of all, I don't have a significant other. Let me just say that. But if I did, I don't know if I could work with him. I think we fight all the time. Because I'm like, okay, why are you hogging the mic? It's my turn to talk. Like, what's happening here?
Right. Well, you know what though, Jasmine, for me, it's easy because I've had, let me see, about 26 years as a TV news anchor, journalist, that whole thing. But, you know, Mark has been in the radio game before. Like, he came out of school smoking, like 30 years. So I defer all that stuff. I defer the expertise part as far as radio goes to him. And I think that really helps because, like, I don't try to really get in his lane as far as, okay, now I'm coming in off the break and then I'm gonna, you know what I mean? It just sort of works because I respect his 3 decades in the business as he respects what I was primarily doing. So it just kind of works. Like, we have these conversations anyway, like, you know, whatever the conversation, can you believe Princess Love and Ray J getting divorced? You know, we would already talk about things like this. So transition to talk about it and to try to hear from other people just on a different, you know, on a different platform that's not our kitchen table. So it's all good.
I think that's dope. What are some of the kind of back and forths that you guys have together when you're talking? What are the ones that cause the most sparks? Are they, you know, what's going on in the housewives? Is it politics? Is it, you know, what's going on in the world of finance or social injustice? Like, what are some of the biggest conversations that you guys have?
So the funny thing is, like, we'll start on something like, you know, talking about whatever it is, the attorney general in, you know, Louisville, Kentucky. We'll start off, and then all of a sudden, like, I can tell the look in Mark's face because as a TV person, it's hard to be like, oh, can you believe this? And he needs to blah, blah, blah. It's hard to do that because you don't really give that opinion piece. So on a radio format, like, I can always tell when I'm about to start preaching because Mark will sort of look at me and back away from the mic because there's certain things, like, I was just raised like that. I'm a child of the 70s. And so, you know, we grew up like, it's nation time. Struggle continues. I mean, that's who we are. I had, like, you know, a little pleather vest with a red, black, and green button on it in a school picture. This is just who we were. So this is always in me. So those topics we really get heated on. As far as politics goes, like, Mark is much more opinionated in that area because he can be. Like, it's hard for me to be like I'll drop 100 hints on who I'm voting for on November 3rd, but I'm not going to be like, I'm voting for this person on November 3rd.
Right. That does make sense.
You damn know who I'm voting for on November 3rd, you know? So it's just interesting.
You know, it's funny, listening to you say that reminds me very quickly of how I think most people don't consider how difficult it is to be a TV personality, to give the news and be completely unbiased. First of all, being a Black woman, everything is in these eyebrows and these eyes.
Right.
What? You know what I mean? And so to be able to be stoic. And I thought about Yamiche Alcindor.
Love her.
Love her to death, because she can basically just, okay, I understand that, but what about this? And she can just be so stoic. And I think a lot of people don't realize how difficult that is, because I would give everything away because it would be on my face. What was the most difficult story you ever had to deliver and just completely be stoic about it?
Oh my gosh. Well, see, that's my problem. Between me and you and the world right now, that is my problem, because the eyebrows go up and I will be like,
the lips, girl, giving that.
Yeah, they
we
go.
Can't help it.
We cannot help it, because there's some things, and this is what I had to come to, you know, with the George Floyd death back in May already, and everything that just sort of happened after that with the protests and everything that happened. What I saw overwhelmingly was the world coming together to say, this is wrong. Like, I don't care. This is wrong, period. And so, you know, I really sort of found my voice, even though I was sitting at home doing it, but found my voice in that, because there is no two sides to that. There is no two sides to that man, to us watching that man lose his life in that way at the hands of the police. So there's just some things that I found that I was not going to compromise on.
Yeah.
And so it's pretty much a blessing that I've been able to take this break. I'm watching what's going on in the world, and I'm like, I don't know if I'd be able to toe the line in any sort of way, like right down the middle, if I felt like it was leaning towards another way. You know what I'm saying? So
well, let me ask you before we get into where you and Mark are going with your show. I just out of curiosity. At the moment, we really, as Black people, don't have a place that we get unfiltered, unbiased news about what's going on in our community, or situations that are happening from the standpoint that how they actually happen, as opposed to how they've been slanted for us to see. Do you think in this world post, or in this country post George Floyd, when people are trying to come together, which, by the way, I hope that's not a fad. I hope having a sign in your window that says Black Lives Matter isn't something to do because it's cool to put on Instagram. I hope that it's really something that we're trying to move to, you know what I mean? But do you think that it is important for us to have something that is for us, delivering the news to us, or should it be the way that it is now in terms of integrated and we just get it however it's delivered to us?
Right.
How important do you think that is?
Well, you know what? I think it's very important. I mean, it's been like the saddest thing to see some of our Black newspapers go away, or, you know, what have you. But we have the internet, and it's important, though, even within that, to find that sort of unbiased, straightforward news approach. But the kicker is, I feel like with a lot of our platforms, we are like that. It's kind of like the HBCU argument, or the you know, Divine Nine argument. We don't say you can't come in at all. You know what I'm saying? We're open to it. So when we are on a platform like, I don't know, if I went to BET and they had a news page on it, I'm going to trust that that's not necessarily a slanted view. It's just, you know, maybe it's written by a reporter of color, and maybe it's going to be ingested by people of color, but it is straightforward. It's not like Fox News, or even, you know, as much as I love MSNBC, not even from that sort of bias. It just is what it is. And so I think it's important. I trust those sources. Like I like a lot of the gossip sites too that are for us and by us. I guess they're by us. But as far as like the real, you know, news goes, now I get it. There's some platforms that are going to be more biased, but if there was, you know, the Afro newspaper online, I'm going to trust that. It just is. And the stories, what you get in those publications are stories that do affect us, that you might not see in the mainstream. So it's the stories, but it's also stories that really impact us, whatever housing, healthcare disparities, those kinds of stories that you might not see. So yeah, it's very important. And it's important to make sure the source is correct. And nowadays,
Girl, say that twice. Say that twice.
Yes, please check your source. Like, they're just some sources. And speaking of the young woman reporter, like, I trust NPR or, you know, whatever it's going to be, those other sites. I trust that they're going to give me an unbiased view if it's not in an opinion segment. So, you know, but I do find comfort, just to answer, just to make sure, I do find comfort in a reporter of color talking about a story, because they're not going to, I find myself sometimes adding a line in news scripts when I was at my last station to make sure it was not, you know, an unfair story. You know, if they were talking about the protest and then they talk about people who came to interrupt the protest who weren't necessarily from that community, I think it's important to say that, you know, not just out like.
Yes.
So,
and I think you're absolutely right. I've had this conversation before, but I don't know about you, and I'd love to get your take on this. Sometimes I have concerns about the impact of social media. I think it's a necessary evil, because I think had it not been for social media, I don't know how widespread the information and the awareness about what happened to George Floyd would be where it is. The same thing goes for Breonna Taylor and Sandra Bland. And, oh my God, I could go on and on and on. But at the same time, I also feel like with these platforms, you know, you and I went to school for journalism. You know, we know what it means to not necessarily take what you first read and run with it, but to really check, double check, and then go back and check again before you get on that microphone and you start spewing out what you call facts, which might not be so factual. And then nobody wants that. But I think in day and age, now everybody is a reporter. Everybody has the ability to take the information, to filter it through their thought process, their beliefs, and their opinions, and add their spice to it, right? And then post it. And then we sit back thinking, okay, first of all, there's so many grammar errors in this story that I can't even trust facts of it. That out the gate. You know what I mean? Like, with a preposition. Right. And then and so I find myself waging war sometimes, because, you know, first of all, I'm a Scorpio. So I'm like never ending on the computer, like, you're wrong. And did you check? And where did you get that info? But do you think that we are becoming relics, or is it moving past what we had to go through to get here? I mean, you know, I read your story. I saw where you went to school and you were the first person to be an anchor, you know, just all of these things. And how important is that now, as not just a woman of color, but just as a woman, period, in today's news cycle? Like, is that important now, do you think?
Well, I do. I think even if people don't know it's important, it's important. You know what I mean? It's important. There are just some people that you can still say their names and you're going to be like, okay, I can trust that source. I hope to be one of those people. If I'm going to tweet something or whatever, I've checked it 100 different times. I do think that we're just in this sort of world right now where if you want to think a certain way, you can find something online to back up any viewpoint, any conspiracy, any thought, any that you want. And I think there is so much danger in that. I really do. But I will say, back to the point with somebody having their phone out that day and shooting what happened to George Floyd and all the other cases is and can be, sadly not in Mr. Floyd's case, but a lifesaver or a game changer. Very much like the newspapers were in the 60s with the civil rights movement, or the television cameras on Bloody Sunday. You see this. So somebody sitting in San Diego sees what's going on in Selma, Alabama, and they're outraged. And then something happens. I really want to believe that the media played a big role in bringing the outrageous, disgraceful acts of racism and brutality that were happening primarily in the South during those turbulent years. It helped to break it up. It helped the Johnson administration to say, okay, this can't stand, not on my watch. We can't have these two Americas like this, though we know, you know,
Right.
filling the
Clearly.
yeah, I think we are in I'm hoping that this train can be turned around some way. And I think it has a lot, like, I'm reading all the things where they have misinformation camps in Russia, like sending out things.
Yes.
And I just wish as a society that we would become smarter and we would say that this cannot stand. Like we got enough internal problems. We can't have folks, using bots to sort of spread misinformation. And I don't know how that changes. I don't know if that's the big social media outlets saying, okay, we're putting a stop to this, like once and for all. But yeah, we have, so to answer your question, social media is important in making sure we see some of these things, but some of the wild things that I see on there, it just really incites, I think especially younger people who are trying to figure it all out. Like I'll speak to my daughters, they'll come in, Mom, did you see this? This so-and-so, I said, well, baby, where'd you get that from? Like, what's the source on that? And
Right.
Okay, never mind. Old picture, or that happened 7 years ago, so I don't know how we change this course, Jasmine, but I think it's important because the path we're headed down is really troubling, in my opinion. And
It's very troubling. Quite honestly, I never thought that we would even be where we honestly, never in my wildest dreams did I even believe that being here could be possible. Because I thought, if nothing else, there are so many people in this country who care about democracy, who care about the things that have been fought for so that we could be here. It's not perfect.
right.
But I can't believe that it's, I can't, girl, so much so I can talk about it on a Sunday.
I know.
I can't, I'm not gonna, I can do it. So
And
let's talk about something more fun. Now that you are moving in your own lane, do you feel as though are you just now coming into yourself, like completely, or have you been there and now you're just blossoming in a different way?
Well, I think that first radio, like, terrestrial radio, regular radio, opened that up a little bit, so I'm able to be like the snippets that you saw on the news, you'd be like, oh, okay, she really is like that, or she really does like that, or what have you. But now on this whole new wide open format, on the digital platform, is I have to sometimes stop myself, A, because I'm having so much fun, but B, because, I really want to be like a full me, like
full throttle.
Girlfriends from Hampton back in the day. On homecoming weekend, rest in peace, homecoming weekend in Hampton this weekend. But yeah, so I'm sort of caught right there, but it's so much fun to flesh out really who I've always been. Like my friends will tell you who I am. Like I credit myself with being the one in the group, even on these little Zooms we're doing, to bring home that little joke so everybody laughs, and then we're like, okay, talk to you later, girl. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Like I am. And
right.
So I moved around a lot as a kid. Like there was some years that we moved around a lot. And I think that humor really helped as far as me meeting people, me being accepted into these new little school groups or what have you. So that's sort of in me. And it's been so much fun so far to just like try to get more.
So outside of the humor, what do you think would surprise people the most to hear or see from Allison outside of TV? Like, because obviously the restraints and you have to keep it like this. What is the most surprising thing that people would find out about you? Like for me, it was people you curse? Like, yeah, every now and then I will. I mean, I know it sounds weird coming from me, but I do it.
It's so second nature to me, girl. I didn't even think about that being a shocker, sadly.
Allison in there dropping F-bombs. Is that Allison? Yes.
If you had the swear jar, because it's funny, right? A lot of it is funny. Like, just some of the things that we use when we punctuate them with colorful language is just hilarious, right? Especially when people don't think that that's what's going to come out your mouth. Like I remember when I first met Mark, like everything I would do, he'd be like, oh, I didn't think that you were, I didn't think you were like that, or I didn't think news anchors were like that, or what have you. All that is secondary. I am who I am first. And yes, a good cuss, a good swear is perfect right there. But I think that what people would be most surprised about with me, it's really two things that come to mind. First of all, I'm super laid back. I think people would describe me as, I think that nice word comes out first. So she's so nice, you know, she's so nice. But so I don't think people would know that, yes, I am genuinely nice. Like inside I am, but please don't let us be in the CVS line and then you won't step in front of me. You know what I mean? Like, please don't cut me off on the highway because
they gonna get some of them colorful words. Where you going?
That is one.
Allison?
Oh yeah, it could go. I used to joke about with the whole his catch line is, you know, he has a catch line. Mark, what is it? Do you remember? Oh yeah, don't make me angry. You would, and then the catch line basically is when, you know, he's angry and then they're like, well, I'm always angry. You know what I mean? So it's like, I do lead with nice. That's genuinely who I am. Like, so that's not a lie, but you know, I ain't no punk neither. That one.
I get it. I say it all the time. I tell people, don't let this curly hair fool you.
Don't do it.
Don't do it.
And then the second one, oh my goodness, my baby tried to jump on the couch and just fell. Oh my gosh. Gabby, Mark. Okay, sorry about that, Jasmine. Ooh, that was an emergency. She's okay.
Is she okay?
She's okay. Is she okay, Mark? Yeah. Okay. She's embarrassed. Mark says she's embarrassed. The second part.
I've done that before.
She's my big chunky baby. The second part, I think, is we touched on it earlier, but I think that people would be surprised to know just how Black I am. I think that would be surprising.
Wait a minute. Wait. Just how Black you are. How Black are you, Allison? How Black are you?
Jasmine, I'm blackety black.
Girl, I got hot sauce in my purse right now.
I'm just like, I love it. Like, I love everything about it. And it's just, I mean, I think it was how I was raised. I don't know. You see, I got this, you can't really see it, but this Black art in here, like, I'm so proud and happy about my heritage. Like, even though it's difficult sometimes and you gotta, like, you know, remind folks of whatever, I just feel like, I feel like.
Okay, so what's the blackest thing? What's the blackest thing you've ever said? What's the blackest thing you've ever said?
That's so funny. Oh, I got one. Here's the blackest thing I ever said. A boss of mine, when we started doing more like you know, they wanted to share your opinions and all this, whatever. And he tried to be a white guy. I think he was trying to be comforting or something. And he goes, well, nobody's going to think, although I don't like this term because I think society puts it on us women, but nobody's going to think you're an angry Black woman. Like nobody's going to think you're an angry Black woman. And I said, but I am an angry Black woman. Like, okay, because, you know, for me, that angry part, I don't like that because, you know, that's what society says about us. But what it really is you have to stand in your power, in your truth, and you're not going to let somebody, you know, come over and tell you something that you know is not the truth about yourself, about your culture, your heritage, my marriage, my family, whatever, your hang-ups about what you think a Black person is and all of that. And so I think that, you know, for me, that might be the blackest thing that I've ever actually said.
Well, wait a minute. First of all, what I'm going to need you to do is put a sentence together where it is grammatically incorrect and you use some words that really don't exist. I mean, Black like that. Like if you would have told your boss, hey, I ain't with that. Now that I'd be like, yo, Allison, girl, give it up. I ain't with that. Now we know
what you're not going to do is, that comes out a lot. What you're not going to do, and you know, of course, it's just, I just, people would really be, like, I've enjoyed success on TV and it wasn't on, like, I haven't had the opportunity to work at like a you know, a Black owned or a Black platform. So I've always been in general market television. And so that's not just Black viewers, it's viewers of all races. And so there is a level that you have to sort of achieve so that people can watch you and they can feel like, okay, I can get my news from that person. Although just like the aging thing, if they don't want to watch you because
that's right,
you Black, then they not gonna, like, I remember sitting with another a man who was a co-anchor who was Black, and like when people would say, well, I just can't watch because it's, you know, 2 Black people on it. Okay, well, you're just not gonna watch.
Well, you're
right?
not watch. Yeah,
You're just not gonna watch. So
let me ask you this: is this now that you are stepping into this new thing, you and Mark? And again, I joked earlier about how I couldn't do it. I believe I could, and I think I would have so much fun. Is this the happiest that you've ever been? Like with every career and personal, because we work to get to a certain point where we can finally, in the words of waiting to exhale, exhale, like we finally reached that particular point.
Absolutely. Absolutely, Jasmine. And I'm gonna tell you why, because I had seen I sort of had seen not to say too much, but like things that I wasn't necessarily happy with. And so to step away and to go on a different course, that inherently makes me happy. And then to know that on a daily basis, like I get to sit there and basically, you know, chop it up with my husband of 20 years. It's like, that's like not working. You know what I mean? Am I working right now?
That's so dope. Like, so what kind of things can we expect from the show? What kind of show is it going to be? Are you guys going to talk about pop culture? Are you going to talk about romance and relationships or lack thereof?
Right. No,
if you guys are doing some matchmaking, let a sister know, because you know.
I would love to. My new show is on Netflix, is Indian Matchmaking. I don't know if you've seen this show or not. This show is
Indian Matchmaking.
Indian Matchmaking. So I feel like I could be a matchmaker, but no. So what we do, we talk about, you know what? We talk about everything. We're having a ball. We do talk about a lot of pop culture, what you know, who's doing what and what have you. But I think that the show is, because of the nature of who we are, the show has these really sort of heavy, important, influential topics too. We do talk about, like, we spent a lot of time talking about the debate last week. We do talk about social injustice, and I think that we have a unique approach. And there's some things that we talk about fun stuff too. We do this segment called Single Life. So we sort of share what we did in our single life, because sometimes when you hear, okay, it's a married couple doing a radio show, well, what they gonna be talking about? Like, what we gonna eat tonight? And you remember that time we did this? And nobody feels like hearing that. So we add a little bit of that wisdom in, because in some ways we're sort of unconventional, but we like to talk about what we did when we were single, how we avoided some of the pitfalls, some of the things that you're just like I talked about.
It sounds fun.
Blind date I had and how horrible it was, and so just how to navigate life. And so
I think that's so dope. Now, is it gonna be video as well?
Well, that's the thing that we need to work on, because most of the time, like in the days of COVID, your girl has on like cutoffs and tank top and no bra, boo. It's beautiful.
Girl, you better not have a bra on and you at home. I burned all my bras. I was like, what for?
Let them
go. That's so dope. So
I'm gonna put a bra on and we're gonna do some video components to this, because it's exciting, Jasmine. We're actually have talked to some people about the possibility of syndication. Like, we're trying to be like you. So
wait a minute.
With some people, just trying to really hone the skill set and how we are, but without taking away the essence of just who we are as people anyway. So we're just continuing right now on this digital platform, and it's just, nothing is really off limits, except if Mark tries to put me in a corner as far as really talking about something controversial, because we know there's still haters out there in the world. The headline would be, Allison Seymour formerly says this and this, and then all of a sudden I'm like,
it would definitely be that, for sure. But it sounds like it's going to be a lot of fun. I'm so happy that, and I would imagine some people were probably like, girl, don't do it. Girl, this is not the time. But I'm so glad that you did what we as Black women have to do, and we've been doing forever. It's not always easy to find that courage, but just stepping out on faith and stepping out on, you know, the dreams and goals that we have for ourselves, and just doing something that is for us. And I think that the show is going to be amazing. I'm so glad to finally have the opportunity to talk to you. And whether it's a matchmaker or anybody else kind of matchmaker, girl, I can't wait for you to hook us up. If ever you and Mark need me to come on the show, you got it.
You need no help at all. Dynamic, beautiful, smart, you know, got your opinions on life. You're fine. Just invite us to, if you could have a real wedding in the days after COVID or whatever situation you're looking for, just invite me and Mark. We'll be there.
Girl, you know I'm gonna invite you guys. Are you crazy? Tell us all the information about where we can listen to the show, and eventually I'm gonna put it on out in the atmosphere already that eventually we'll be able to see the show, because I really believe the chemistry between you guys, I bet the show would be amazing to be able to visually see it. I know it's gonna be great from the audio side. We want to see it too. So when can we expect it? Where can we hear it? All of that info.
First of all, I'm going to take that note, Jasmine, about doing the video piece, because you're right. We're in a different, we got to, like, my word is now shift. A girlfriend at my old station, she was like, shift. And that's what I feel like I'm doing in my life. So I'm going to take that note, and we're going to shift and you know, try to go ahead and advance our presence and our brand and all that. But you can hear the show. It's 100 Hip Hop and R&B FM. You know, it's on iHeartRadio platform. Mark, you can help me out with the website and all that. It's live right now. It's 3 to 7, Monday through Friday.
Yes.
Yeah, so
I love it.
And then there's I got my man over here talking about.
I hear him whispering in the background.
Allison and Mark what is it, man?
Allison Mark app.
The Allison and Mark app. But the best way probably would just be, you know, so it's 100, the number 100, hip hop and R&B FM. It's online, but also like on all the iHeart radios of the world. So please listen.
Yes. Continued success to you, beautiful. What a pleasure to talk to you. It has been amazing. The only thing that was missing for me was a little bit of champagne, but I promise you the next time we talk, I'll have champagne for the both of us.
Next time, Sora, we'll have champagne.
Indeed. Thank you so much. You guys take care and continued success.
Thank you so much.
If you need anything, always reach out. I'm always here.
Absolutely. Thank you.
Thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Give it up, just to be with you.